the Lakers gave JJ Redick a 2-year extension, so that gives them a total of 5 years through 2029. This makes it clear JJ Redick is the coach, not just now, but moving forward for the long term, beyond just the LeBron James era.
What if LeBron's decision is he wants to re-sign with the Lakers? And Rob said we would love if LeBron retired as a Laker. He didn't discuss the option of actually extending another deal.
The way that LeBron's operation has approached this is an indication that he is not happy.
The Los Angeles Lakers are consistently in this cold war with LeBron James, and they just made a decision that perfectly captures one of the most dramatic power shifts in NBA history. While everyone was focused on trades and free agency moves, the Lakers made a statement so subtle yet so significant that it flew under the radar for most fans. JJ Redick, a first-time head coach with exactly 1 season under his belt, just got a contract extension from the Lakers. Meanwhile, LeBron James, the 4-time NBA champion, the league's all-time leading scorer, and honestly, the face of the Los Angeles Lakers for the past 7 years up until this past February, didn't get a contract extension offered to him. And his reaction probably screwed the Lakers throughout the offseason. Now, stick with me because what I'm about to break down for you reveals not just a contract negotiation, but the end of an era and the beginning of something completely different in Los Angeles. And by the end of the video, you'll understand exactly why Rich Paul made that cryptic statement that had the entire NBA world confused. So before we get to this content, make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications because NBA season is about to start and you want to stay up to date with the latest NBA news, and we're going to make sure we bring it to you. Now that we get all of that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Let's start with something that's never happened before in LeBron James's 23-year career. For the first time ever, LeBron James is playing on an expiring contract without any extension discussions. Think about that for a second. This is a player who has basically written the playbook on how to maximize leverage in contract negotiations. The man that is responsible for the player empowerment era, and I guess you could also say the player entitlement era. A man who has always been in control of his own destiny. Brian Windhorst put it perfectly when he said that the Lakers and LeBron James did not have substantive discussions about extending his contract, which every team that LeBron's been on for 20-something years has wanted to have. Every team for over 2 decades has prioritized keeping LeBron James happy and locked up long-term until now. On June 29th, 2025, LeBron opted into his $52.6 million player option for what will be his historic 23rd NBA season. But here's where it gets interesting. His agent Rich Paul made a statement that immediately sent shockwaves through the basketball world. Paul said, "We understand the difficulty in winning now while preparing for the future. We do want to evaluate what's best for LeBron at this stage in his life and his career." Now, it's kind of interesting that LeBron James would say this because 1 year ago, he was willing to take a $20 million pay cut so the Los Angeles Lakers could try to pursue Klay Thompson or James Harden to try to build a contender around LeBron and AD. But after trading Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic in February, his tune shifted. If you remember, towards the end of the Lakers season, LeBron threw a little bit of shade at the Lakers for making the trade.
My guy AD said what he needed, and then he was gone the following week. So
now Rich Paul pretty much gave a warning shot to the Los Angeles Lakers. When an agent talks about evaluating what's best for a player, especially a player of LeBron's caliber, that's not just casual conversation, that's him attempting to apply leverage. But here's what most people missed. The Lakers were reportedly comfortable having LeBron on an expiring contract. Let me repeat that. The Los Angeles Lakers, a franchise built on superstar culture, were comfortable with their biggest star having no long-term commitment. That tells you everything you need to know about where this story is heading. Now, I've been on record multiple times, I think almost in every single one of my videos, saying that LeBron James essentially screwed the Lakers by not taking a $20 million pay cut. This is a man that is worth over $1 billion. $20 million is chump change to the guy. And you might be wondering why I'm counting another man's pockets. Well, when there's a salary cap, $20 million could be the difference between you getting a high-end role player to help bolster your team so you could compete with the likes of the OKC Thunder and the New new look Houston Rockets that just traded for Kevin Durant, or the Denver Nuggets who just traded Michael Porter Jr. for Cam Johnson and re-signed Bruce Brown, or the Los Angeles Clippers who look like, oh wait, yeah, that team's kind of screwed. So whenever I reference that LeBron James kind of screwed himself and the Lakers by not taking $20 million less, that's usually what I'm alluding to. But let's take a pause and talk about JJ Redick for a little bit, because this is where the story gets fascinating. On September 25th, 2025, the Los Angeles Lakers announced that they've extended JJ Redick's contract. Now, I have nothing against JJ, but I thought this was very peculiar. Redick was signed to a 4-year, $32 million deal in June of 2024, meaning he still had 3 full years remaining on his original contract. Rob Pelinka explained the decision by saying,
confidence and belief. We think he's a special coach with a special voice that's really helping us to continue to define the culture of Lakers excellence, and just wanted to make a clear statement that this is what we believe in.
Let's pause for a minute. JJ Redick coached for exactly 1 season. His team went 50-32 and secured the number 3 seed in the Western Conference, which is impressive when you also factor in the fact that the Lakers completely changed the identity of their team in February by shipping out Anthony Davis to bring in Luka Doncic. That's even more impressive. But they also lost in the first round of the playoffs to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And although you can make an argument that there were significant holes in this team's roster, primarily in the form of depth and just having no front court at all whatsoever, it's just really peculiar to commit to your head coach that has 3 years left on his contract and didn't exactly win you a championship in his first season as the head coach. But here's what makes this extension so significant. It's incredibly rare for any head coach to receive a contract extension after just a first year with the franchise, let alone a first-time head coach. Redick had never coached at any professional level before taking the Lakers job. His only coaching experience was his son's 4th grade basketball team. So why extend him now? Why not wait to see how year 2 goes? Well, the answer reveals the Lakers' new philosophy, and it's a philosophy that doesn't center around LeBron James's timeline. You see, when you extend a coach early like this, you're making a statement about long-term planning. You're saying, this is our guy for the future. And when that future is being built around a 26-year-old superstar named Luka Doncic, rather than a 40-year-old legend who is without a doubt a top 3 player in NBA history, suddenly everything starts to make sense. Here's where we need to talk about the elephant in the room that's been quietly reshaping the entire Lakers organization. In February of 2025, the Lakers made a blockbuster trade to acquire Luka Doncic from the Dallas Mavericks, and that trade didn't just change their roster, it changed their entire organizational philosophy. But the trade itself isn't even the most telling part of this story. It's what happened behind the scenes that reveals just how dramatically the power structure has shifted in Los Angeles. Remember, in May of 2025, Rob Pelinka and JJ Redick held a private dinner meeting with Luka Doncic and his agent at Craig's, a high-end restaurant that honestly isn't that far away from me. At this meeting, they outlined detailed strategies for the team's future direction, salary cap management, and their pursuit of what they called an age-appropriate star to pair with Luka Doncic. Now, here's the part that should make every Lakers fan sit up and pay attention. LeBron James was not invited to this meeting, the franchise's biggest star for the past 7 years, the player who brought them their 2020 championship that definitely counts. I'm not getting into this. You guys could argue in the comment section. That championship counts. It was the most unique championship in NBA history. But LeBron James, who brought a championship that certainly counts, wasn't even consulted about the Lakers' future plans. But it gets even more revealing. When the Buss family finalized the sale of the franchise to billionaire Mark Walter for $10 billion in June of 2025, Luka Doncic was given advance notice and even posted a congratulations on social media afterwards. LeBron James, he wasn't even notified in advance and never made any public acknowledgement of the sale. This isn't just about basketball operations, this is about respect, influence, and the changing of the guard. For 7 years, LeBron James was the first person the Lakers consulted on every major decision. Now, he's finding out about franchise-altering moves the same way the rest of us do. The message from the Lakers couldn't be clearer. Luka Doncic is now the centerpiece of this franchise, and they're building for his timeline, not LeBron's. Now, let's dig into the contract situation itself, because this is where things get really interesting from both a financial and strategic standpoint. LeBron's current salary pays him $52.6 million for the 2025-26 season, which is actually slightly below his maximum salary. At age 40, LeBron's true max salary would be approximately $54.1 million, representing 35% of the NBA's salary cap of $154.6 million. So the question becomes, if LeBron wanted an extension, would he have expected a max contract? And if so, would that have been justified justified? Here's where we need to address the elephant in the room. Multiple NBA sources familiar with both LeBron and the Lakers organization have suggested that LeBron obviously wanted an extension, and it's also clear that the Lakers wouldn't give it to him. Most around the league assume LeBron wanted to sign what's called a 1+1 extension, meaning one guaranteed year plus a player option. But here's where the NBA salary cap rules come into play in a very fascinating way. The NBA has something called the over 38 rule, which was actually lobbied for by LeBron James and Chris Paul during the 2017 CBA negotiations. This rule prevents teams from circumventing the salary cap by giving long-term contracts to older players who might retire before the contract ends. Since LeBron turns 41 in December, any extension he signs can only be for a maximum of 3 years total. But here's the catch. The over 38 rule treats any salary beyond a player's 38th birthday as deferred compensation, which creates salary cap complications that can absolutely cripple teams. So from the Lakers' perspective, giving LeBron a max extension would not only eat up a significant portion of their salary cap space, but it would also limit their flexibility to build around Luka Doncic, who they've clearly identified as their long-term centerpiece. But is LeBron James being selfish by potentially expecting a max deal? I mean, let's take a look at his numbers. At age 40, LeBron averaged 24.4 points, 7.8 rebounds, and 8.2 assists per game last season while playing in 70 games. And LeBron is the only one to do it at age 30 or higher. From a pure performance standpoint, LeBron James is absolutely still worth max money. The question is whether the Lakers want to commit that money to a 40-year-old player when they're trying to build around a 26-year-old superstar. Let's talk about the business side of this situation, because what the Lakers are doing here is actually pretty calculated from an organizational standpoint. When you extend JJ Redick early, you're essentially telling the basketball world that you have confidence in your long-term vision. You're saying, we know where we're going, and this is the coach that's going to take us there. It's a move designed to create stability and show commitment to a particular philosophy. Think the Miami Heat with their head coach Eric Spoelstra, or the San Antonio Spurs when they had Greg Popovich coaching for over 2 decades. But when you don't extend your superstar player, you're making a different kind of statement. You're essentially saying that we're planning for a future that may not include you in a central role. Now, the Lakers would probably argue that they're just being prudent. LeBron is 40 years old. He's turning 41 in December, and this is a guy that brings up retirement a lot, even as early as 2 years ago.
I had a lot to think about, to be honest, and just for me personally, going forward with the game of basketball, I got a lot to think about.
I mean, he brought it up at the ESPYs.
When the season ended, I said I wasn't sure if I was going to keep playing. The real question for me is, can I play without cheating this game? The day I can't give the game everything on the floor is the day I'll be done.
I mean, he's even mentioned it throughout this offseason. So why commit long-term money to a player who might not even finish a multi-year deal? But there's another layer to this that most people aren't talking about. The Lakers are now owned by Mark Walter, who has a net worth of over $10 billion and also owns the Los Angeles Dodgers. Walter didn't buy the Lakers to be a retirement home for aging superstars. He bought them to win championships for the next decade. And if you're planning to win championships for the next decade, you build around a 26-year-old Luka Doncic, not a 40-year-old LeBron James, regardless of how good LeBron still is. This is why JJ Redick's extension makes perfect sense from the Lakers' perspective. Redick is 41 years old, young for a head coach, and he's someone who can grow with Luka over the next 5 to 7 years. He's also someone who clearly has a strong relationship with the front office and buys into their vision. Meanwhile, LeBron represents the past, an incredible past, a championship past, but the past nonetheless. What's happening with the Lakers isn't just about one team or one player, it's reflective of a broader shift in how NBA franchises approach star player management in the modern era. For years, the NBA has been a player-driven league where superstars held most of the leverage. Players like LeBron essentially pioneered the concept of controlling their own destiny through strategic contract structuring and free agency movements.
In this fall, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach and join the Miami Heat.
But we're starting to see teams push back against that dynamic. Look at what happened to Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving in Brooklyn, or Ben Simmons in Philadelphia. Teams are becoming more willing to take stands, even with elite players, and in some cases it works. I mean, hell, it got Zion Williamson to lose damn near 70 pounds, and we have a separate video on that we'll leave in the end screen for you guys to check out. But the Lakers' approach with LeBron represents a new model. Acknowledge the superstar's value while simultaneously planning for a future without them. It's respectful but firm, appreciative but not desperate. From an organizational standpoint, the Lakers are betting that Luka Doncic gives them a better chance to win championships in 2026, 2027, 2028, and beyond than LeBron James does. And mathematically, they're probably right. Now let's talk about the human side of the story, because what we're witnessing isn't just a business transaction, it's the end of an era for one of the greatest players in basketball history. LeBron has spent his entire career being the focal point of whatever organization he's played for, in Cleveland, Miami, Cleveland again, and Los Angeles. Every major decision has been made with LeBron's approval and input. He's been consulted on trades, coaching hires, draft picks, and strategic direction, for better or for worse. Now, for the first time in his career, he's finding himself on the outside of those conversations. The Lakers are making decisions about their future, and LeBron is finding out about them after the fact, just like everyone else. That has to be incredibly difficult to accept, especially for someone who has wielded as much influence as LeBron has throughout his career. He's not just a basketball player, he's a businessman, a cultural icon, someone who has been accustomed to having control over his professional destiny. But here's what makes this situation so fascinating from a psychological standpoint. LeBron is also incredibly motivated by challenges and proving people wrong. Remember, this is the same player who left Cleveland for Miami when people said he couldn't win. Then he went back to Cleveland and delivered a championship when people said it was impossible. Rich Paul's statement about evaluating what's best for LeBron at this stage in his life and career could be interpreted in multiple ways. It could be a negotiation tactic designed to pressure the Lakers into making moves to improve the roster. It could be genuine frustration with the organization's direction, or it could be LeBron setting the stage for his next challenge. There are rumors that LeBron's ultimate goal is to play with his youngest son, Bryce James, who will be eligible for the 2026 NBA draft. If that's true, then this entire contract situation becomes even more complex, because it means LeBron is potentially planning to play for at least 2 more seasons, regardless of what happens with the Lakers. Let's address the biggest question hanging over this situation. Can the Lakers actually win a championship with both LeBron and Luka on the roster? The optimistic view is that you have 2 generational talents in their respective primes, which is insane to say about a 40-year-old. But of course, they're in different stages of their primes. They complement each other well on the court. LeBron's basketball IQ and leadership combined with Luka's offensive brilliance could theoretically create something special. The Lakers won 15-8 last season when both LeBron and Luka were in the starting lineup, which suggests that there's real potential there. But there's also a pessimistic view, and it's one that seems to be driving the Lakers' organizational decisions. NBA analyst Tim Legler recently argued that the Lakers are no longer in win-now mode for LeBron, but are instead building around Luka for the next 5 to 7 years. If that's true, then everything we've discussed, the lack of an extension for LeBron, the early extension for Redick, the shift in organizational priority, makes perfect sense. The Lakers are essentially saying, we'll compete this year with LeBron, but we're not going to mortgage our future for a championship run that may or may not happen. And honestly, that might be the right call. LeBron is 40 years old. Even if he plays at an elite level for 2 more seasons, the Lakers would still need to build a championship caliber roster around him in that time frame. That's incredibly difficult to do, especially with the salary cap restrictions created by having 2 max players. Meanwhile, Luka is 26 and is just entering his prime. The Lakers have potentially 8 to 10 years to build around him and create multiple championship windows. From a pure asset management standpoint, betting on Luka's timeline rather than LeBron's timeline is probably the smart play. But that doesn't mean it's going to be easy for everyone involved. But here's the craziest thing. What's happening with the Lakers have implications that extend far beyond just one franchise. This situation is essentially a case study in how NBA teams are starting to handle the transition from one superstar era to another. For years, the conventional wisdom was that you do everything possible to keep your superstar happy, even if it means making short-sighted decisions. I mean, take a look at the Golden State Warriors. Draymond Green punches the talent out of Jordan Poole. They make a terrible trade where they shipped Jordan Poole to Washington and got Chris Paul in return. They gave up on James Wiseman very early and traded him for Gary Payton II. And right now, they're on the verge of trading Jonathan Kuminga once they figure out that situation. The Lakers themselves were guilty of this during the Kobe Bryant era, giving aging veterans large contracts and trading away young assets to try to maximize Kobe's remaining years. But this new approach suggests that NBA front offices are becoming more willing to think long term, even when it means potentially upsetting a current superstar. Think about teams like the Miami Heat with Jimmy Butler or the Phoenix Suns with Kevin Durant. There are franchises with aging superstars superstars who were playing at high levels, but they weren't going to be elite forever, so they moved on from them. The Lakers' approach suggests that it's possible to honor your current stars while simultaneously planning for the future, even if that planning isn't always comfortable for everyone involved. So where does this all lead? What happens next in this fascinating drama between LeBron James, the Lakers, and their new franchise centerpiece in Luka Doncic? Here's what I think is going to happen. LeBron will play out this season with the Lakers, and it will probably be his final one in Los Angeles. Not because of any dramatic falling out or trade demand, but because both sides will ultimately recognize that their timelines no longer align. Maybe the Lakers offer LeBron a farewell tour, or maybe LeBron James accepts the fact that this is now Luka Doncic's team and decides to take a pay cut to return for one more season. But ultimately, I see both of these sides parting ways after this season. Meanwhile, the Lakers will spend the next 2 seasons building a championship caliber roster around Luka Doncic, using the salary cap flexibility that they have to go all in on the 2027 offseason. But let me know in the comment section down below, do you think the Lakers are making the right decision? Do you think LeBron James should have handled this situation way differently? Do you think he should come to terms with the fact that the Lakers are no longer his team, take less money in the next offseason, and try to chase those late career championships that Tom Brady was able to do as a result of his pay cuts? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.